that's why for me, I want to be able to help that next generation of leaders.
Yeah.
As a leader, I want to be that person that says, I got you, right? Because right now in healthcare, there's so much uncertainty of growth. People don't know what to do, no matter what level they are. That's what impacted me. And that was, I would say, a turning point. And what fuels me as a leader to help push others to that next level.
I want to, first and foremost, thank you for being on the program today. I think it's really fun. I started this podcast, the BYA podcast, really to help people recognize that there's more to life than just money. We can build assets in all areas of our lives. And I think you are a great role model and an example of that. And we had the good fortune of working together for a number of years. And I was just always impressed with how you carried yourself and, how you went about your business, and I think that's first and foremost, how you went about your business was always impressive to me. And then when we had an opportunity to hang out at the FIME conference, I believe that's what it's called, right?
Yes, yes.
Down in Miami, I really, I appreciated the diversity of skill sets that you bring to the table. You were hosting this event on that day, and I was like, damn, she's got skills. I mean, like, you really do, and then you were having fun with it too. And so it was a lot of fun to watch you in that type of environment as well, where, you are an accomplished public speaker as well as a sales professional and a leader. And I'm proud of you, and proud to call you my friend and to have you on my program. So Rachelle Ferrara, welcome.
What an introduction. Thank you so very much.
I save them all for great friends, right?
Well, thank you for thinking of me. And it's so great to see you and be part of your show, part of your program.
No, it's awesome. And you know what? We've known one another, and first and foremost, I think for the audience to just realize this is like two old friends, just kind of, not old, I'm old, but just two friends that are just out talking and I think
love it,
wanting to share. And so, for me, that's really important because I think you've got a great story to share. So I just kind of want to start off, let's just kick it off and just kind of tell us a little bit about who you are, where where you're from. I know you're from Ohio, right? Which is great. And so just share a little bit about your background and where you are today.
Yeah. So maybe, do you want me to just even introduce like who I work for so I could show that as well?
Sure.
So yeah. So because I think it does come full circle as to where I came from, which is interesting. Well, for your audience that doesn't know who Modivcare is, because we did work together. So today, Phil, I'm a senior vice president for Modivcare, and I manage a multi-billion dollar client portfolio with a team.
Yes.
And Modivcare, what Modivcare does is Modivcare is a leader and as a tech-enabled healthcare services industry. So what we do is we specialize in non-emergency medical transportation, as you know, otherwise known as NEMT. And what Modivcare does is support some of our nation's most vulnerable populations who face just even getting access to care. And I think one of the reasons why, as you were talking, I wanted to open up with who I work for, because as I reflect on my journey, Phil, it sometimes does feel like worlds apart from where I began in Ohio. I was raised by a single mom.
Yeah.
Eldest of four kids, only girl. We were absolutely part of a financially struggling household. I witnessed firsthand the sacrifices that my mom made for us. She's second generation Italian, no formal education. She worked multiple shifts as a waitress just to provide for us. We didn't have a car. I learned later on that she later on charged to her Sears credit card back when Sears was around, even just her driving lessons. And she did all this just so she could get all of us kids just to necessary appointments, whether it was the doctor's office or even just the grocery store. And she probably used food stamps, at
Yeah.
that point. So
Yeah.
growing up as a Medicaid kid, I
Yeah.
think that's why my work today is just so meaningful to me, because I completely understand the challenges lacking access to just basic needs like transportation,
Right.
and medical care. And I think the work that I do today and my team does for our clients, I realize how personal it is to me because I lived through it.
Right.
So path that I've been on is very far from smooth. I worked my way through college. I navigated the corporate ladder. I guess I would say that I've had this insatiable hunger and determination just to succeed, right? So, now my role, I take a big pride in being part of a mission that helps underserved populations because I'm helping people that come from backgrounds like my own. So I'd say that my story is really come full circle. And that's what gives me this passion to help other people and really serve our clients the best we can, because that's really where I came from in Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland. You know what? I mean, it kind of was. I feel like I know who your hero is, right? Just from your introduction, and that was going to be one of my questions, but I think I pretty much know who she is, and she wears a big S on her chest and a big M for mom, and I know you're very proud of her and everything that she has done to propel you for this path. And I think in this industry that I was in and that we're in, and I still feel like I'm in many ways, you have to believe in the mission, right? And I think
Yeah,
that's what comes
yeah,
through as far as your authenticity. There you go. That's the word I'm looking for. Just
yeah,
how authentic you are in your role and to your customers, because you have walked in these steps. I mean, same with me. With my mom was a high school dropout, not by choice, but had to take care of her family and those kinds of things. And my dad worked multiple jobs to provide, and it was just tough. You had mentioned though that what college did you go to? Just out of curiosity.
So I started off at Stony Brook University, but I finished my degree at Empire State in New
Oh,
York.
cool.
So I spent
Oh, okay. Yeah.
25 years in New York.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Cool, cool, cool. And then you mentioned, like navigating the corporate ladder and how difficult that is. And I know you're deeply committed
Yeah.
to women advancing professionally. And let's talk a little bit about how you give back there, because I know you do, and I know it's just a passion point of yours, and you've done some really cool work around that space.
Yeah, no, very passionate about this. As a matter of fact, I had an opportunity last March on International Women's Day to actually speak about this topic in Paris. And then
Oh,
I'll
wow.
talk a little bit more about how I give back. I gave back on a board. But I mean, overall, you know, the advice that I would probably even just provide to young women, but also men too, right? It's
Yep,
not just
yep.
young
No, you're
women
right.
growing up,
Absolutely.
but it's also men and women, really just that next generation of leaders. Because like me, I didn't necessarily come from a white collar, corporate world background. I had
Right.
a mother that had a lot of grit and succeeded and had a lot of determination and strength. And that's what drove me. But when you start getting into the corporate world, what do you do? Right?
Yeah.
How do you navigate? How do you network? You don't even know those words. So I actually, when I gave my little speech last March, and I continue to do this with other people, I remember breaking it down into 4 different areas.
Yeah.
Number one, it is so important for younger people to build a personal brand. If we think about a reputation, Phil, our reputation is so key to career advancement. I
Hmm.
mean, I don't think we really realize as leaders, but someone is always watching us. We have
Absolutely.
to walk the talk, right? It's also important to network outside of our organization or our companies for that matter. Craft an elevator pitch. You never know when you are seriously going to jump into an elevator with your CEO or a board member, but be able to be comfortable being uncomfortable and making sure that your leader or other leaders know who you are, and
Yep.
sometimes it's hard depending on everybody has different personality types, but try to craft a message to speak up. So building that personal brand, building your reputation, that would be number one. Another one would be, maybe this is a little bit for the women, but empowering other women, you know, create like a safe place for other women to be able to speak up because there's not always a seat at a table. Make them an opportunity for them to maybe speak up in a room. Maybe you always have the floor. So as a leader, we should get to the back and push them up front,
Correct.
even if they're not comfortable speaking, but give them an opportunity to not only speak up, but make it okay to debate. It's okay to not even always agree on certain things, right? It's okay to be
Absolutely.
a little bold.
Right.
And then one of my favorite ones that I've always something I had to learn is build your own personal board of directors. So again, coming from a family where, I come from more of a blue collar family, right? That's very prevalent also to Ohio, that area,
Hmm.
factories and waitresses and workers, which I'm very proud of. But, when you're going for that job or you want to get recognized, it's really important to have different types of board of directors, your own, meaning if you're a mom, have another mom, someone that you could talk to. Maybe if you're going for that job interview, have someone to help you negotiate that salary. Especially for women, really not good speaking up, asking for more money. It's kind of proven. Have someone that's really your sponsor, which is really different than a mentor, to kind of vouch for you. So it's
Right.
important to have those people in your life that you can go to that will kind of be in your corner. And the third I would, or the fourth I would really say is just lead by example.
Yeah.
Just it's not about promoting a bunch of achievements on LinkedIn, but it's just to your point earlier, it's about being authentic and just really being supportive of other people and their interactions. So just be that leader and try to walk that line, basically. Those are some of the things that I talk about, and it's going to be different from everyone else, but try to really lift other people up and empower them for the most part.
Yeah, I loved all the points that you made, and one really resonated with me, and I can share a personal story real quick. I remember as a young person, young manager, when I worked at Procter and Gamble about a million years ago, I had a very strong leader, manager, you know, and I wasn't getting the recognition that I felt I deserved. And one Saturday, I walked into my boss's office and just asked him for his feedback, as to how I'm doing. And it wasn't trying to put my boss in a particular situation, but I really just wanted to know, right? Like, and I think sometimes we
Yeah.
have to get that feedback so that we know that people are seeing us, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and so what ended up happening though, as a result of kind of taking that risk, I mean, I walked in on Monday and my boss was like, "What the hell did you just do?" Over the weekend, and I'm
Took a
like, "Hey,
risk, though.
I just wanted that feedback." But we ended up setting up regular meetings, and this guy, really became a mentor and a coach for me. And
Oh,
so I love that advice, and I love the advice as far as build your own board of directors. I think so often as a professional, we need outside ears and someone that we can really trust and kind of talk things through, and to give us their perspective. And I've been very blessed in life to have mentors and leaders that were older, more experienced, and even
yes.
younger, that could kind of provide me some direction even today. And so I think that's awesome advice.
Yeah, it's interesting that you talk about mentors because, as I mentioned, my mother wasn't part of the corporate world, and she was this symbol of, or still is, strength and determination. But, I've had a lot of male mentors, not just
Hmm.
female mentors. I've had so many male mentors that supported my growth. And I even think about, listen, we've all had them. I've even think about some of the difficult bosses that
Sure.
I've had. That's a gift that
Yeah.
provides value because what happens is sometimes there are certain leaders that you report to, maybe they're budding leaders. They're not the
Yeah.
best, right? And it's difficult. I think we've all experienced that. But those are the moments in life that teach us resilience. It
Yeah.
teaches us sometimes how not to lead. But what I've learned by some of my mentors is that's a gift, basically. And what I say to my team today is, guess what, guys and ladies, what are we going to learn today? So
Right.
every day is a gift to learn. And it's really by really working with my team. I mean, my mother absolutely is my hero, but I think about my other heroes, which would be my past teams and my team today. And these are the folks, ladies and men, that are just constantly challenging the status quo. They're thinking individually, and they're really thriving on massive change. I mean, look at all the change that happens in healthcare today.
Yeah.
It's nonstop, right?
Right.
So these are the people that I am continually inspired by, that keep me going too. So I think it's a matter of building the board of directors, having those mentors, but being inspired even by our own teams as leaders,
Yeah.
because we're that's really we carry each other for the most part.
And I love the point too that you made earlier where, hey, you know what? It's okay to disagree. I've never been one where I
Yeah.
think, I have to have 100% everyone walking down the same path. Now, when we walk out the door, we're in 100% alignment. You may disagree, but behind closed doors, we can disagree. But when we walk out that door to our team, we're 100% aligned, right? So, but
Agree.
during the process, I don't mind some healthy debate going back and forth, and I respect you and your opinion. I may disagree with it, but when we go out the door, let's be in alignment. You also mentioned something that was really cool to me too, and that was, you may not be at the table, but do you have a sponsor at the table, right? And so often, folks, they need that person on that executive leadership team, on that board seat, to say, hey, you know what, Rochelle, she's one that we need to think about, for this next move and this next opportunity. How do you position, like, how do you position yourself with those folks? And I'm not saying that it's any manipulation, but it's just like, eh, let's face the facts. Relationships, it's about relationships. And I try to tell my sons and tell people aren't going to walk down the hall and just say, Rochelle, you've done a great job today.
No,
We're going to promote
no,
you. You've got to ask for that. You've got to go for
you
that.
do.
And you've got to have those mentors and those sponsors in the room
Yes.
advocating for you. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I know young people as a whole, you kind of have this illusion like, oh, I'm going to be, someone's going to come and tap me on the shoulder and, hit me with the magic wand and pixie dust, and I'm going to be promoted. Not necessarily the way it works.
That is so very true, Phil. And, unless we really are very open with sharing that with them, they may not think that, right? You think about, you just get out of college, you finish your MBA, and you're like, okay, I'm ready to go. No one taps you on the shoulder, exactly to
Right.
your point, and says, okay, this is your next step. I remember a leader, actually, one of my old presidents from a previous company said to me, Rochelle, your career does not go like this.
Right.
Your career actually goes like this, and it could go like this a little bit, and it goes like this, right?
Right.
And the reason why I'm demonstrating that is, first of all, I was in his office saying to him, this is the president of one of my former companies, Henry Schein. I approached him, I set up a meeting, and I said, hi, I want to be a leader at this company. And I was able to enjoy a wonderful, career there for 16 years. I want to be a leader at this company. What do I need to do to be at the next step, to get to the next step?
Yeah.
Now, I wasn't asking to be a president or senior vice president, but what do I need to do to get on a path? And we really would encourage anyone at any level of their career just to be humble and open, and be ready, though, because you're going to get feedback.
Right.
You're going to get feedback to say, listen, you need to work on this, or maybe this is your blind spot. So be open, but have that hunger.
Yeah.
Have that hunger to move forward, but have that thick skin to know that no one is perfect and you have to work on something. But ask the question and lean in. No one's going to
Yeah.
get I mean, it's every once in a while, again, companies do have succession planning. And if you perform well, great, you're going to be on that top box. But the reality is, I would rather hire someone that is hungry, that wants to move forward, that's really trainable and teachable and coachable for the most part. And those are the person that are raising their hands saying, how do I get to that next step?
Yeah. And,
Right.
I think you just brought up a great point too, as leaders, having that succession plan and having those people in place. A lot of people will look at that as a sign of weakness or whatever else. And maybe being self-employed for 20 plus years, I was always looking for how do I how do I work my way out of this job, right? How do I replace
Yeah,
myself with someone that can run this
sure.
without me being engaged? But then in corporate
Yeah,
America, it's a little different. Hell, you
it
might promote
is.
someone, and next thing you know, your ass is out, right?
It's a
So
different, yeah, it's
it's a
different.
different
It's a different
environment, but yet
mindset.
at the
Yeah.
same time, it's so important. I know when I was at McDonald's, we lost like three CEOs within a matter of months due to illness and cancer. And, it was a mind blowing time. But if you don't have that succession plan in place and you're not comfortable as a leader, you're really hurting yourself and your organization, you
No,
know?
absolutely. I mean, for the most part, one person can't run, I mean, again, unless you're a very small business, but it's really important to be able to build processes and build talent. So you don't know what's going to happen. To be able to build a successful, sustainable business with the right talent to carry it along. You owe it to your clients, you
Yeah.
know, in
Yeah.
that sense. It's
No,
important.
that is for sure. Rochelle, outside of work, what fuels you?
So, I most folks that know this about me, some that don't, I get really excited about a lot of global issues that are
Yeah.
sometimes even, beyond the US. Culture thrives me. Um, I've always made it a point to have an understanding of just what's going on from a global perspective, whether it's business or art, living conditions, innovation, right? Tech. How are other people on the other side of the pond, running their business? I've always been involved in some type of global organization or companies, whether I work for them or I'm supporting them or I'm quite active on the global speaking circuit. I get really excited about innovation and technology and really working with audiences, whether it's in the Middle East or in Europe, just trying to understand how different minds do things. So if you think about, even just technology and connecting with people, the world's not that big if you're
Right.
communicating with others, right, through this form,
Right.
through
Right.
technology. And I think, because of that, my husband and I, we're very much alike. It was almost like we're the same person. We actually had the same passion for some of these global issues. And we actually today maintain two residences in Europe. We have such a passion for the rich culture and our family connections, both of us from originating overseas. And we've just, for example, a little something about me. We've just been able to be rewarded with experiencing producing our own olive oil from our olive grove in Tuscany.
Oh, that's so
So
cool.
something little, but and every once in a while we'll give some of our neighbors some of our olive oil. But those are just the little rich things in life that we've really worked hard for. Simple, but I think it kind of is fueled by always from my early days learning how to get to know other cultures, my early days in New York, experiencing where people were from. I get really excited about, I think, just, different types of backgrounds.
Yeah.
And I feel like you just learn, and it's just the love of people, basically. That's what fuels me.
Yeah, because I know when we connected the other week, I think you were just returning from Paris, and
Yes.
I know you speak over there quite a bit, and so
Yes.
there's obviously a magical connection with that city,
Definitely
and
magical.
yeah, yeah, with the culture as a whole, and that
Yeah.
is so cool because I do feel like travel and getting to know people on a global stage helps you
Yeah.
develop not only professionally, but personally as well, right? Like just to be able to gain different perspectives and
That's really what
understand.
it is. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, my very first job, I was in my early 20s for some type of global organization and just, learn the world. And I ended up having a corporate job at Swiss Air. I was at the corporate headquarters in New York, and my first big corporate accounts client was the United Nations.
Oh, wow.
And I got to know the internal workings of the UN, which is just cool for 20-year-olds,
Yeah.
and travel back and forth. And that, I think, is what started it for me, is the love of travel is not just, flying around taking pictures, but it's just watching people and understanding how different, cultures uh, live life. And that's what drives me. And I think that's probably what motivated us each to, buy residences overseas and just learn the culture. And it goes back to people. If you think about here in the US, we're the big melting pot.
Yeah.
So it helps us even connect more to people. And even when you're on a global stage. So
Yeah.
it's fun for us.
No, for sure. Like if you can knock down, the language or whatever, and you're in a foreign country, that's like, ooh, win,
That's in process right now as well.
Yeah. I go to Mexico or somewhere and I try to speak Spanish and it's like, okay, I'm really working on this.
Well, if you don't lose it, you use if you don't use it, you
Right.
lose it,
Yeah, no,
So
absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah, I
Yeah.
taught my
So,
Italian. I got to keep up with it, but it's not as good as it should be.
well, practice makes perfect. So I'm sure there's going to be a number of trips, in the future going back and forth between
I'll
Tuscany and
try.
Paris and everywhere else.
Yes,
So just have to keep those frequent flyer points in check, right?
I will try.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that I really love to do, and you talked about the culture piece, and I know you live down in South Florida. I'm pretty sure you're a well, I don't want to say a big workout advocate. I mean, you're always physically fit and in shape and that kind of stuff. Outside of work and outside of culture, you know, what else do you enjoy doing?
Yeah, no, thank you. So I'll just say it like this, I think as busy professionals, because again, whether it's work travel or leisure travel, we're just always going. What I learned this year, Phil, more than any other year, is the importance of having a calm mind, more so than just the fitness part. We all live in a fast-paced world, especially in healthcare, right? And so this past April, I, for the first time, was able to experience traveling to Southeast Asia. I met the beautiful people of Bali, Indonesia,
Hmm.
and I embraced
Nice.
yoga and meditation. I'm not that I had never tried it before, but I really like embraced it. And it's actually become part of my everyday life since April. Um, so the fitness part is really important, but just having that calm mind, being
Yeah.
able to be really centered, especially if we're in any type of crazy situation. I mean, we've got a hurricane coming, okay?
Right.
Living in Florida, you have to have a calm mind, or even leading teams. But I also think taking a step further, of course, prioritizing fitness is important, but even just keeping that calm mind for your marriage, for
Yeah.
your friends, for your family. I think overall, just prioritizing good health and good well-being, it comes from that balance, basically.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that. Just learning on that yoga journey. And
Hmm.
it's something that I've, a little newer this year, but it's kind of full circle with my fitness journey living
Yeah.
here in South Florida. And I wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, I try to get in like 15 to 20 minutes every day of just meditation, giving thanks,
Yeah.
eh, just taking that time. I mean, we've all, are on a great journey. We may not be exactly where we are, but you know what? We're successful none the same, just the same. And it's so important, I think, just to take a couple minutes, just to
Yeah,
give thanks and understand like where that gift and where these gifts come from every day, right? And
totally
just kind of
agree.
dial into that. And then this morning I was actually walking and you know what? You can find inspiration anywhere. I was walking and someone had written on the path, these little positive messages, and you might have even seen it on LinkedIn this morning. but it was the starting line, so it was like kind of start, and then there was another message that said you can do it, believe in yourself
Love
or
that.
whatever else,
That's
keep
great.
going. And so I just kind of put them all, I just took pictures of them and just kind of thought, man, I'm going to share this with the folks, my followers on LinkedIn, and with some friends, and
Yeah.
little things like that. And just for me, being out and walking is just an opportunity for me to kind of clear my mind, as well as, work
Yes.
on my fitness and stuff. And, my dad, like, I never will forget, I mean, God love him. He drank like a sailor and smoked like a smokestack, right? Uh, but the dude walked like, a couple miles every day, and he, he kept going till he was like 89. He was just, and so I think I have the blueprint, right? Like, just keep moving and keep thinking positively, and stay in shape and
Mindset.
lift and
I
mindset,
agree.
right?
I agree.
Yeah.
I think about my husband's father. He's going to be 94 this November. He went to the doctor recently, and the doctor said, Jacques, are you drinking a glass of wine every day? And he said, no. He said, why not? He said, because I'm drinking a bottle. I mean, he's 94, and he's so fresh and he's got such a great mind, but he doesn't smoke. But for the most part,
Right.
it's keeping that sharp mind. And no,
Yes.
I agree. And it's again to my, point early is of course is just having that calm mind and that
Yes.
good sense of like, I got it. So
Yeah, no, it was so cool. And I mean, I think travel just gives you that awesome perspective. I never will forget. I went to Shanghai, and just to see the people in the park practicing Tai Chi was like
it's great.
really cool and really inspiring for me. So
Some of
let
the
me
other
ask you
cultures,
this.
you got it.
I mean, we try to leave people, the goal is like, hey, how do we go about, helping people build wealth in all areas of their lives, and so I would say, what is one thing for you that is automatic and might be, the calm mind piece now and the physical activity, but is there anything else that you thought, what, when I think back on my life, this was, and maybe it was even a defining moment, for you, like what was a defining moment that, it's like, okay, I need to make sure this is part of my daily grind here.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm going to kind of go back to someone that reached out their hand and helped me, and
Yeah.
it's kind of paying it forward, right? So I won't go into a lot of details, but I remember the very first time. I'm going to go back to that president that I was speaking to, right? I went up to
Yeah.
him and I said, "What do I do? How do I get ahead? Give me some advice." And I don't think he realized the advice that he gave me was a turning point in my life. He said to me, he said, Rochelle, there's this organization, it's a leadership organization. I think you should go attend it. It's called Professional Women in Healthcare. Not many people at our company are involved. Go attend. I think there's a networking event. Now, I've never been to a networking event at that point in my life. And so I said, okay. So I walked in all eager and I suddenly was very intimidated. I'm a
Yeah.
young professional. I did not have an established network at all. I did not know what to say. I look around and I see all these professionals with really big titles. And I just kind of sat down and I looked around and I was intimidated. And I'll never forget, there was a woman by the name of Debbie Feinberg. She came down and she sat next to me. And overall, she just said, I got you. I
Yeah.
got you. She said, follow me. And she proceeded to just walk me around the room and introduce me to people and kind of showed me how to network and how to finesse my way through a room.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward 8 years later, after that event, which turned into one of hundreds of events, I became the chair of that executive board of that
Wow.
organization.
Wow.
And it was all because of the president at the time, his name is Brad, basically said, I think you should do this, which I don't think he realized that was such a gift. And Debbie Feinberg saying, I got you. So, just kind of reflecting back to those two, that big turning point in my life by people just reaching out their hand and paying it forward. Again, I had to be hungry, right? Because if I wasn't hungry, I didn't have to show up. But really, leaning in to help me years later, that had such an impact on me, Phil. And that's why for me, I want to be able to help that next generation of leaders.
Yeah.
As a leader, I want to be that person that says, I got you, right? Because right now in healthcare, there's so much uncertainty of growth. People don't know what to do, no matter what level they are. That's what impacted me. And that was, I would say, a turning point. And what fuels me as a leader to help push others to that next level.
That is so cool and so amazing. And um, yeah, I think it's probably best that we stop there on that, right? Like, I mean, I don't know how I top that, So it's like it's just so cool and so amazing. But we've all had those situations in life where I know in my own situation, like when I became an owner, I was really concerned in many ways about, and this is sad to say, about people figuring out that my restaurant was Black owned and would not come to me, right? Not come to my store. And I never will forget it, like a defining moment, much like that. I went to a friend of mine's restaurant. His name was George Saliba, and I love him. And he has a great story, and I'll have him on the show one day. But this gentleman walks into his restaurant, and if you are old enough and you know the character Yosemite Sam, I'm going to paint a picture.
I'm
This
aging
guy,
myself.
he walks in he looks like a mountain guy, right? And George is originally from Beirut, Lebanon.
Okay.
So he walks into the restaurant and he screams at the top of his lungs, where's my buddy George? Where's my buddy George? Right? And George and this guy, they go up and they hug. I can't remember the guy's name. It might have been Bob or whatever, but they hug and they talk. And, Bob says, man, I was thinking about going out to eat and I thought of you, and I thought, wow, number one, that's branding. Great job, George. If someone's going to go out to eat, they're thinking of you. But then more importantly, I couldn't believe like how comfortable George was talking to all these people. And this was back shortly after 9/11 and everything else that's going on. So you have this gentleman, from the Middle East in this situation in Kentucky, it wasn't easy, but I mean, he was comfortable in his own skin, and he showed to me, I think, just like Debbie probably showed to you, hey, I got you. You know what? You can do this. And you are going to attract people in your tribe because you are going to be authentic. You are going to walk in your space and you are going to be okay. And that was just a very defining, eye-opening moment for me. That is similar to that.
Story.
And I love that, so.
Thank you for sharing that too.
Yeah, kudos to you. I'm proud of you. Very proud of you.
You as well. Thank you.
Yeah, Rochelle, thank you. It's just been awesome having you, as a
Great
guest,
chat.
and I love what you're doing, and I wish you nothing but success. And I can't wait to see how things progress for you and the company, and just I know great things are always ahead for you.
Thank you very much.
And congratulations, by the way.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Very happy.
Awesome. Yes, indeed.